Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the quick update over at the situation at the Kursk front. And for those that are wondering, where were the previous Kursk update? You need to watch the situation report, the SITREP, or the summary on the DPA War channel. So just search on YouTube DPA War, you will find an orange DPA logo. That channel is the War channel. So because sometimes there is just not enough airtime to put a separate report out. But everything is reported in the situation report. So let's go into the update. The latest update on the Kursk front. So we have the Ukrainians continuing their offensive, and generally speaking, they are pushing in the western front, the northern front, the western front in two different directions. In the northern front, and they are attacking in the central regions. They are pushing over in the eastern or the Sudzha center, the center front, and the Russian forces are counter-attacking in multiple directions, trying to hold back Ukrainian offensive, except for over in the southern front where the Russians are the only one attacking. So, and let's go into the first front line first. Then we will cover the Glushkovo situation last. And over at the western front, Ukrainian forces are still trying to attack into Kirinevo. Previously, they have an incursion all the way to the along the road, but they were totally destroyed by airstrikes, and there is no indication that that incursion managed to lead to something bigger. So far, there isn't this kind of indication. The Russians still seems to have very strong control at Kirinevo. There is fighting reported over at Ogovka as well as this region called Matveyevka. Later we'll zoom in a bit more, don't worry. And the Ukrainians have actually confirmed to have captured Snagorsk and Vishnevka. The Russian forces are counter-attacking in these regions as well as fighting at Apanasovka. Ukrainians are now pushing towards Komarovka. And so this is the general sense of what is happening right here in the Western Front. If we zoom in with a bit more detail, Ukrainian forces are geolocated over on the western part of Vishnevka, which confirmed Ukrainian presence around this area. And because there's no way to reach Vishnevka without Snagorsk, this also means that the Ukrainians have captured Snagorsk. So, which means that the Ukrainians have captured all this area, confirming a large part of the Ukrainian mapping. And then the latest report on the Russian Defense Ministry now indicates that the Ukrainian forces are attacking towards Kamarovka. However, in Russian report, the Russians are also attacking Vishnevka. They are attacking towards Snagorsk as well as Apanasovka, which is likely to be under Ukrainian control. So the Russians are trying to prevent the Ukrainian dominance in this region, because this will allow the Ukrainians to start the offensive, which I say I will cover last, which is the pincer movement on Glushkovo. So there is this potential of pincer movement to develop on Glushkovo and capture the entire region here. But this is just capture. The Ukrainians are not going to push northward due to the fact that they have destroyed all the bridges. The Russians can't come in also means the Ukrainians cannot go out. So that's the situation here. Over on the northern part of the western flank, Ukrainian forces are still trying to push Kirinevo, and as per the previous geolocations, the furthest point they have went is here. They didn't manage to go further, and the Ukrainians are trying to push, but the Russians have a very, very strong defense here. If you have not watched the situation report or even the frontline changes report, the Ukrainian forces were trying to flank north and cut off possible Russian reinforcement or resupply from the north. And this will allow the Ukrainians to actually attack directly into Kirinevo of a weakened Russian forces. However, this did not work out seemingly. The entire force running down the highway got destroyed. So that's a big bummer over there. The Ukrainians are continuing to attack in Ogovka and Matveyevka region. The Russians are most likely nearby. Geolocations confirm Ukrainian forces are in the region and confirm the Ukrainians have captured most of Ogovka. However, not entirely. I think it's maybe half, not exactly most, maybe at most 60%. So that is the current situation around at this region. If I zoom in, you probably see that the Ukrainians have, yeah, actually more than 60%, 70% of Agorivka. Russians probably are still holding the eastern half, and they are now pushing down the road towards Mavievka. So over at the northern flank, the Ukrainian forces have not been able to break through the entire Kauchuk line. The Russian lines all along here continues to stand very, very firm. In the previous day's report, Ukraine was trying to attack Shiptovkovka, and think Skrilevka as well as Safanovka. They did not work out. I think they, and I was mentioning that why we are questioning why are they so adamant at breaking through this line, and this line is clearly now unbreakable. The Russians have held this location for a long time now. So I'm saying that why not they continue on their maneuver warfare going through the countryside in a totally different vector, and it seems like this is what exactly they're going to do now. Ukrainians are geolocated on the east of Oleksandrovka, and the Ukrainians basically have stormed again through maneuver operations into the countryside, and now they hit westward towards Alexandrovka. So this is confirmed by Ryba talking about this, and the geolocation confirmed Ukrainian presence there. Of course, the front line is indicative. This is not reality per se. This is just most likely they're coming from this direction, where they have a position at Kalinov. They probably go up from this direction. Russians forces are probably still holding at Kuravli, which is why the arrow is not going from this area. This will allow the Ukrainians to also flank southward, to support the operation over at Govka, where the Ukrainians are struggling to break through the Russian lines along this area. So these are all pretty good, and this will also break Russians' capability to reinforce this line here with the attack at Oleksandrovka. So let's see how this develop for the Ukrainians. Stop going, don't go against the wall unless you have no place to go. But clearly the Ukrainians have a lot of place to go right here, so they should continue to flow like water. So that's the current situation around at this northern flank. Over on the eastern flank, the Ukrainians are still attacking Malaya Loknia. There's a spectacular footage of the Marder firing at some buildings previously geolocated to be at Malaya Loknia, and then there's all this hype about Russian forces getting encircled. However, this encirclement has been reported by DPA. If you have followed DPA, we have talked about the encirclement of the Malaya Loknia region for like more than a week. So, and Russian forces most likely have a position over Krylenkoe to Mokolevka to Malaya Loknia and Staraya Soroshena. And this region is Russian control, and there is a possibility that the Ukrainians have all these positions going around. They can drive all around the place. But similarly, because the Ukrainians aren't holding a very consistent, congruent line, Russian forces could potentially also resupply easily, and reinforce easily at this position. So the battle line is actually only in the south of Malaya Loknia, and the rest of the front line there's no reports of fighting. So this is not the kind of front line we are used to in the Ukraine war within the rest of Ukraine. This is not the kind of front line. This front line is very, very porous, and there is no firm line other than this line around here by the Russians. This is the firm line. Everything behind, nobody knows what the hell is happening. According to the Russians, they are also attacking at Kositsa. So Ukrainians have previously captured it. So let's wait and see. Ukrainians previously was attacking Ruskoe Parashnoe as well as Cherkaskoe Parashnoe. The Ukrainians previously was doing this northern flanking movement, probably trying to hit the rear position, but not sure how this goes. That's the extent we know of. So that's all from this sector. Going to the Sudja sector, at the Sudja sector, the Russian mapping have conceded Martinovka due to this very geolocation. They say that based on this geolocation, they access that the the Ukrainian forces have captured Martinovka. So yeah, interesting. But that also corroborates with the Ukrainian mapping that have claimed Martinovka to be under Ukrainian control. So it's all right. It's not too bad. And the Ukrainian forces are still attacking Ruskaya Konopelka. Previously, there was this geolocation of Ukrainian forces entering Ruskaya Konopelka, but then they got totally ambushed and wiped out. So the Russians are still holding Ruskaya Konopelka, and the front line remains to be pretty much in this way. Around Pushkanoe to all the way to Ruskaya Konopelka, leading up all the way to the north of at Krulik. So this is where the Russian lines currently are holding. The Ukrainians still have not exactly managed to break this line, but they are making progress because previous Russian lines is at Matanovka, Agranon. So this was the previous line. So they are pushing the Russians backwards, but yeah, it's still very, very slow progress, and the Ukrainians are doing whatever they can to create a buffer zone around this area here. So there's geolocation, not geolocation, there is report from the Russian Defense Ministry of shelling at Kazachak Loknia. So that could be possibly where the Ukrainians have some forward operating position. So let's see how this develop. So moving on away, going to the southern flank. At the southern flank, Russian forces are attacking Spinoye as well as Borki. Both are currently in this very unknown situation, but Spinoye is actually pretty much more clearer because of geolocation of FPV drone strikes on Ukrainian position within Spinoye, confirming Ukrainian presence over there. Borki is a bit more unknown, but generally I believe and suppose that they are still under Ukrainian control. Russian forces are seemingly not really going to push in. They are just using drones and air strikes, artillery strikes to deal the fire damage on the Ukrainians. So that's it from this southern flank. So now let's go on to the Grushkovo region. So as mentioned, the Ukrainian forces are trying to create this massive break and allows them to attack towards Grushkovo from the east. And currently, the Ukrainians continue their attacks on Russian pontoon crossings. And the latest video that came out from the Ukrainian side shows massive losses on the Russian side. A lot of these pontoon vehicles has been destroyed by FPV drones. So the situation is not that well for the Russians. The Russians are struggling to build crossings to facilitate reinforcement, resupply, as well as evacuation of civilians. So they are struggling very badly right now regarding that. The Ukrainian forces are now shelling Tekino with airstrike. They are airstriking it, and the Russians are paying back in kind with strikes over at Boyara Lezachi as well as Novi Kriki, which means that the Ukrainians have some presence around here. They are poising to launch attack into this region. Previously, Ukrainian forces have captured Otruba, conquering all of the Russian territory west of the Sim River. So they are also potentially do a crossing and attack from the rear position and capture Tekino. I believe that after Tekino, there's actually no defense line. The Russian rear positions are most likely pretty empty. So once the Ukrainians are able to break through, they will be able to spread out and storm the rest of the territory very, very quickly. So this is the only defense that is currently holding up the Ukrainians right here. So we shall see how this goes. The situation is very, very not well for the Russians in terms of the Glushkovo saga situation. And there is also shelling reported at Khrushchev. According to the Russian Defense Ministry previously, they said that they struck the command center. They published a video and said that they struck a Ukrainian command center over at Khrushchev. I continue to believe that there is a Ukrainian troops standing by at this location, preparing to storm towards Rylis. But this can only happen if the Ukrainians take Karanevo, which the Ukrainians are now currently struggling. They can't break through this Russian line around here. So without this breakthrough, this other force will not commit. If they commit and then they get stuck there, it will just be meaningless losses. So tentatively, they are now probably focusing on this smaller pincer and capture a smaller territory, because taking Rylis will allow them to storm further deeper into the Russian territory as a forward operating position. But without it, no, I don't think they can go further right at this moment. But it's not much point. It's all countryside. But of course, countryside is pretty good. No, it's more harder to stop. But the price objective is over here at Kursk, at a Kursk nuclear power plant, the Gulf, and various crossings. So the Ukrainians are struggling to get there though. The distance is pretty far, still 20 kilometers away from the Gulf, around 30 kilometers plus from the nuclear power plant, another 70 kilometers to Kursk. So far away. The furthest extent at the moment is still up to only not barely 30 kilometers. So the Ukrainians have his work cut out for them. So in terms of the shelling at the rear positions, we can see that in the Takino region, Ukrainian forces have a lot of positions around here that is getting shelled by the Russian side. So this must be the force waiting to enter Takino. There is also some other positions getting shelled, like the Yunakivka, Moritsia, as well as Pisarivka. So these are just the positions where the Ukraine is supporting the various frontline actions. So otherwise, yeah, I think there's further south shelling. So in this position, this is interesting. The Chechen forces are defending the Kolotilovka. This is another border crossing over here. And the Russians are shelling Porovka and Krasnopilia, which means that there is some Ukrainian forces that's gathering around this area here, which may want to try again. The reason for this most likely is because the Ukrainians need to break out in a different direction to distract or divert attention from the Russians, so that their main force here can have more chance to maneuver, and potentially they could also attack into the rear positions in order to support operations, so that they can break out further from the southern flank. However, this attack has not worked out so far. So, and there's another problem is that attacking through here would also mean that they are close to entering into the Belgorod region. In fact, this is part of the Belgorod front. So this is actually Belgorod region. The border is actually here. This is actually the border between Kursk. This is Kursk and this is Belgorod. So the Ukrainian attack in Kolotivka actually meets a totally different force. The forces that are defending Belgorod region is actually much stronger, which is why we are seeing the Chechens here. So it is a bit of a difficult thing, because once they draw into this area here, I'm not sure what the Russian forces in the Belgorod region will do. It's under probably a separate command. So anyway, this is the quick update over at the Kursk Offensive, the Kursk front. So do press the like button, subscribe. 18 minutes, pretty fast, and I'll see you guys in the next update. And if you want to know more about the rest of the Ukraine war, check out the situation report. Bye.